Heyo, welcome back to Beyond the Diamond. We're your hosts, Colby Rush and Hunter Broadbent. Remember to follow us on Insta at Beyond the Diamond Podcast and Twitter at Beyond the DIA Pod. Let's get right into today's show.
All right, guys, we are excited to welcome in a special guest today, a college pitcher and captain for the Fairfield Stags, Jake Noviello. Jake, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, obviously. It's great to have you. So let's just start with some little background, like where you grew up, high school you went to, and then where you are now.
Yeah. Grew up in Franklin, Massachusetts, about an hour outside of Boston. Went to Franklin High School, the public high school there for 4 years. I was a football player and baseball player there, played quarterback, and was a pitcher for the high school team. And now, like you said, I'm a junior here at Fairfield, pitcher, captain. So it's kind of my background.
So obviously that Franklin team, when you were a senior in 2018, special team, believe one of in a long time to win in the 7th spot,
Yeah.
not one of the first top two seeds, and also be a public school to win. I think only the 3rd team recently to do that. So like, what was that like to win the championship?
Oh, it was great. We had I tell everyone this, we had a great team. At the time, I was the only kid that was committed to play college baseball, and there ended up being 7 kids out of that team to go on and play. So that was pretty special. We were really talented, but I think we just meshed so well. And every weekend we were all hanging out. We had great chemistry. And like you said, being a 7 seed, we kind of had a chip on our shoulder because we knew that we were better than some of those Catholic conference schools that just got the nod because they're presumed to be better than the public schools. And we felt like we were the underdog because we were, and we really played like we had nothing to lose. And when you're doing that, there's not a lot of pressure on you. You can just go out and play your game. And I think we did a really good job of that. And at the time, we were the lowest seed to ever win it. And I think it was North Andover the year after us actually won it as the 8th seed. So they had to one-up us there. But yeah, just a really special team. It was a really, really cool run that we made.
That's awesome. Can you talk a little bit about what's going through your mind when you're taking the ball in the last inning of that game, getting ready to get those final outs?
Yeah, well, coming off that 8th inning, I came in relief and got some big strikeouts there, and I was really pumped up. And I actually had an at-bat in the top of the 9th. So there was a runner on 3rd, and I couldn't get him in. I didn't get the job done, but I really knew I was just focused on pitching at that point. So just tried to gather myself, and we were coming to the heart of the lineup. We had 3, 4, 5 coming up with 2 kids going to Power 5 schools. Their 4 hitters at Vandy, and their 3 hitters at Michigan right now. So we had some big bats coming up, and just tried to keep the ball low. Didn't want them to hit anything out and really change the momentum. And great defense behind me, so I had a lot of confidence.
Yeah, no, based on what I read, it sounded like it was a very cool moment. What was it like to strike out that last batter? Like,
it was. Honestly, I blacked out. Like I remember throwing the pitch and throwing my fists up in the air after it dropped in. It was a curveball for strike 3. It was pouring rain out, so I knew if I didn't get that down, I'd have some trouble throwing it again for a strike. But it was great. Just ran to my teammates and we dogpiled, and it was just a lot of hard work that everyone had put in had finally paid off. So that was great for us.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, that's one hell of an experience. And I mean, going through those guys you went through, being committed to those schools, it's just crazy.
Yeah, we the semifinal too, and made it even sweeter to beat them again in the championship. So we
2 guys that are going to went to schools that went to the championship 2 years ago.
Right. And they actually, those 2 kids are now pretty highly touted draft prospects for this year. So pretty good players.
Pretty cool.
That's amazing. Can you talk a little bit about the transition from high school to college? I mean, obviously you did face some talent like that in high school, but I mean, we all know college is kind of a different animal. So like kind of the adjustments that you had to go through to get used to this level.
Yeah, it was tough. Honestly, the first freshman fall, I got my teeth kicked in pretty bad. Coming off that championship, I kind of thought I was riding high and really just had no idea what I was walking into. College, like you said, it's a whole different animal. There's every single guy on the team was the best player in their league coming out of high school. So you're facing guys that are used to winning, that are faced to always being the guy, and they're used to that. So it was tough, and I really had to transition my game from really I was fastball heavy in high school, and I had an okay curveball, and I didn't have a changeup at all. So I really had to develop 3 pitches that I could throw for strikes. And you're facing guys that are 4 years older than you. They're 22 years old, and they're big, and some of these guys haven't played a whole lot, so they have a chip on their shoulder, and they see a freshman come in, they're licking their chops just to get a bite at you. So definitely hard, but you learn how to pitch more. I've become more of a pitcher. I think I came in at 210 pounds, and as I sit here now, I'm like 240. So I had to really work out and put on some weight, and I think my fastball is maybe 85, and I've gotten that up to the low 90s now. So you just have to really develop yourself. High school is great, but once you get here, it's a whole different animal.
Yeah, and I mean that cutter that you're developing is pretty good too.
Yeah, I know. I wanted something that my curveball comes in around 75, 76, and like I said, my fastball in the mid 90s or low 90s. So I wanted something that would be a little harder, have a little bite to it, and it's coming along pretty good. So that's something I picked up this winter when I was training.
Yeah, it's looked good so far.
Yeah,
so obviously you were named the captain over the winter. So that's an honor to anyone. But like, what does that mean to you to be named the captain of this team?
Yeah, it's really special. I think my biggest thing when I came into college, obviously I wanted to be a great player and do everything I can to play and help this team win. But most importantly, I just wanted to be a great teammate. And my dad played in college. He played at Providence, and the more that he talks about than anything is just his relationship with his teammates. And I think that's something that's been very important to me, just treating everyone with respect and pushing guys and making sure everyone feels part of the team. And just being named a captain like kind of reaffirms that I'm doing a good job of that and really trying to push guys and get the best out of everyone and the team. So it's definitely a special honor. I'm very, very happy that I was named that and have that opportunity.
Yeah, no, I will say when I came in, obviously you were one of the first guys that like got to know me, but also I could see you were a born leader, a natural leader, just from interacting.
I appreciate that. And I mean, you guys and the managers, you're there every day and sometimes earlier than us, and you guys help us out. And we appreciate you guys more than you'll ever know. I know even just you guys feeding the coaches or taking video or reading the Rapsoda for us, like that's a lot of work. And I don't think you guys get enough credit. So you guys are definitely a part of the team, and we really appreciate all you guys do.
That's what we love to hear. Thank you. And it's cool how you've taken on that leadership role after, the upperclassmen. I'm sure when you came in the fall, they kind of gave you some good guidance making that transition. Any guys you want to shout out in particular that helped you get through that first little bit?
Yeah, I'd say, freshman year, guys like Pete Horn and Ian Halpin and Nick Esposito, they really took me under their wing, and they were guys that I looked at as leaders and, lead by example. And they were bigger guys and they were vocal. And I think I'm kind of that guy. I'm not a church mouse, as Colby will probably tell you. I definitely run my mouth a little bit and let guys know I'm there, but that's just kind of how I feel I can lead and show guys the way and try to motivate people. So, freshman year, you learn a lot, and you kind of sit back and you just keep your mouth shut and you watch. And I think those guys really brought me through the ranks and took me under their wings. So without them, it could have been, a totally different experience, but definitely thankful to have them there.
Yeah. Perfect guy to mic up during a game.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing that content come out.
Yeah. So obviously last year was not ideal with COVID shutting down the season. I know I've heard stories where like you guys basically got off the bus and then boom, season ended. So like, what was that like for you? Like hearing that?
That was we had played 6 games over at Stetson, which is on the east coast of Florida, and we were driving over to Tampa on the west coast. I think it was a Thursday because we had a Friday, Saturday, Sunday set with USF in Tampa, and we stopped at Chipotle for lunch at 2:00, and Coach Courier came to the front of the bus and announced that the MAC had suspended all games for the rest of the year. We were done. And I didn't think about myself at all at that point. I thought of, Ian Halpin and Josh Arnold and Eli Oliphant, like all these guys that were my best friends that I would go over to their house every single weekend and just hang out with them. And those are the guys I'd hang out with on the bench and talk with and mess around with. And, all I knew at that point is that they were done and I would never play with them again. So that was really horrible. Thankful for the opportunity for them to come back and the NCAA give them an extra year because it's great to have their leadership and just their friendship back. But those guys that we lost, like I feel horrible for because no worse way to go out.
Yeah, the whole situation just sucks. And thank God the NCAA did make that rule that some of the seniors could come back because it's awesome to see them get their chance now. I know I'll never forget how apocalyptic all that felt when it was like first the Ivy League canceled their season and then dominoes kept falling. Our team had just practiced and was down, I believe it was in Richmond. And they got pulled off the practice field right in the middle of it. And then College World Series got banged and it was just crazy.
At that point, like we got canceled and COVID was just booming at that point. And we were worried that we weren't going to be able to fly home. We thought wholeheartedly that we were going to bus home from Florida because they didn't want us flying or whatnot. So that was horrible. Like you said, it was just apocalyptic. We've never been through anything like this. So crazy.
Yeah. And I mean, to follow that up, like obviously it's been a long time in quarantine per se, but how did you stay in shape and just like stay active and ready for this season?
Yeah, sure. So I'm pretty lucky. I had some weights down in my basement, and before everything really got bad, like mid-March, late March, my dad actually was able to purchase some heavier dumbbells for me. He got me like 70-pound dumbbells. So I had like 70s, 30s, 25s down in my basement. And my buddy Steve Lutazzi, who's my best friend, he's a first baseman at UMass, and they were obviously in the same boat. So he would come over every single day, and we'd work out for 2 hours. We'd play music in my basement. We actually built a squat rack in my basement and out of wood and screws and concrete buckets that we got at Home Depot. We built that and put that together. And I was lucky enough to have an Olympic bar too and some plates so we could squat and deadlift and do all that. So for really 2.5 months straight, he would come over 5-6 days a week and we would work out together. So that really helped to kill some time and also stay in shape. And that was big for me. I know before COVID even hit, I injured my elbow. So I was probably going to be out for most of that past year anyway. And then when COVID hit, I was just rehabbing my whole way through COVID. So kind of worked out for me in the end where I didn't really miss too much time, but that was great.
Yeah, it's always good when you can be in it with someone else. And that was one beauty of it. At least some people could come closer together. But you kind of like played into my next question of, was it just throwing off a high school mound nearby or just flat grounds with your friends? That's really about all you could do. Just like about keeping your arm in shape. And I know you talked about your dad too, being a big impact. Was he basically your pitching coach through that whole time?
So actually for me, I got hurt the end of February and I got an MRI and I ended up partially tearing my UCL. So it was between, they have this injection, a PRP injection where you get it and it heals up in, a month or two and you can get back to it. But with COVID hitting, all those elective procedures were shut down. So I didn't have that opportunity. And instead, they told me just to not throw a baseball for 5-6 months. So during that time, I was going to rehab. I go to a gym, Cressy Sports Performance up in Hudson, and they're the best in the business. I've been going to them since high school, and their head guy, Eric Cressy, is actually the head strength coach for the Yankees. So his whole team there was able to get me back in shape. But really from March until July, I wasn't throwing. I was just lifting and trying to get as strong as possible, build up my legs. And I guess once July hit, like you said, high school mounds, I'd go to Franklin High School. I'd grab Matt Venuto from Mansfield, who's our catcher here, or Jake Mackey, who's the catcher at Merrimack. That was my high school catcher. And I just throw them. So it was tough. Just a lot of backyard workouts, really.
Yeah, I'm sure it wasn't definitely ideal, but it's great to be resourceful like that. For sure.
I also have some local guys that can play a little bit that I could get my work in with, which was great.
Yeah. So a little bit back to like the transition from high school to college. What was that recruiting process like? Because I know you said you were the only guy who was like committed by the time the championship went down.
Yeah.
So like talk us a little bit through that process.
Yeah. So for me, it started my sophomore year. I played on varsity all sophomore year, and I was starting pitcher for them and did really well. And my high school coach, lucky enough, he used to coach at Wheaton College and knows hundreds of college coaches. So one day he, I guess, made like 15 phone calls for me and reached out to BC and Northeastern and Notre Dame and Virginia Tech. So like some really big schools. And my first visit was to BC my sophomore year. Went there and then went to Northeastern and Brown and Dartmouth, some Northeast schools like that. We went out to Notre Dame sophomore summer, and that was great. But for me, like, I wasn't really ready yet. I like to consider myself like a late bloomer. Like, I wasn't at my full, peak performance yet. I might have been throwing 82, 84 as a sophomore. So not great. I was 170 pounds. Hadn't really filled in my body yet. So those ended up not working out, and, kept working out, kept going to Cressy up in Hudson. And by my junior winter, I was up to 86, 87, like had started to fill out. And Fairfield actually saw me at a prospect clinic. Liked what they saw. Coach Cole was there, who used to be an assistant coach here. And they had me down for a visit and offered me. And within the month, I had committed. Because after seeing the visit here and going to the beach and kind of experiencing all that, I knew this is where I wanted to be.
It's definitely a great place, to say the least. Yeah. The beach is a selling point. Yeah,
they brought me into the beach house, and I didn't need to see any more after that.
Yeah, that's the only problem with UConn. Our beach houses are basically just farms around here, so we don't really have that luxury.
Right.
No, you got the nice facilities though.
Well, we do. I'm very lucky that we have that. But yeah, it's good that a place like Fairfield can work out. Obviously, it's a very well-known school, but it's not as big as a place like Notre Dame where someone could get lost in the shuffle. So it's awesome when you can find a place that, A, you get plenty of publicity because you're a bigger school, and B, the playing time is there. So that It's an important balance.
I think that's something from talking with other guys. Like, I feel like we have really, really good players that, they're kind of in the same boat as me. Like, we're recruited by BC earlier, some of these bigger schools, and maybe just weren't ready yet. And I always tell people the difference between, Power 5 school and maybe us as a mid-major is just when you get recruited. They get guys freshman, sophomore year of high school, and we get guys, sophomore, junior year of high school. And I think we can compete with anyone in the country. I really do. I think we're going to be very, very good this year with our staff and who we have hitting. And it's really just a difference of when you get picked up. I don't take anything away from those big schools. Like, they're obviously very good and very competitive, but I think we can play with anyone. So that's just kind of my take on it and recruiting wise.
Yeah, no, I'd have to agree. I mean, I've been telling Hunter this whole time. I think we should win the MAC. And then we're projected to face Texas Tech, which would be a ton of fun. But our team's looking really good. Our staff is awesome.
Mhm.
Obviously, headlined by you, Trey, Sansone, those guys, and then our hitters. I mean, I can't even. We have like 6 4 hitters.
Yeah, my time being here is the best staff we've had from a starting pitching perspective, and also guys that can come in relief. We're very, very mature guys that have had a lot of mound time, and at this point in the winter, this is the best the hitters have ever looked. I think they're really getting their swings down, and usually early the pitchers dominate, but it's not really the case this year. They're definitely getting their barrels and being competitive. So that's great to see. Hopefully that translates to the field.
Yeah, if last week's live was any indication, the hitters are looking good.
Yeah, they are. They're definitely on their game.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of got a similar situation going here too. Very good team, might be one of the best all around that our program has ever seen. So I was disappointed to see that we weren't matched up in the regular season schedule this year, but who knows? Hopefully soon.
Usually we'll head up to stores, or you guys will come down here. And I have a good buddy, Eric Stock, that's on the team. So we played together over the summer, and I was hoping to be able to see him this year. We were sending a text back and forth before the schedules came out, but it's not going to be the case, I guess.
Yeah, he's a great threat on both sides of the ball. Throws super hard, and guy just hits better than anybody.
He is one of the funniest kids I know. He during the summer we played up in Maine together, and he just always found a way to get the guys going. So he's a good guy.
Yeah, and kind of about what you were talking about earlier. Our coach said in an interview the other day, and I couldn't agree more, that this has the potential to be the best season we've ever had of college baseball, with the combination of the talent that's in there and everybody's just pure desperation to get back on the field after the whole crapshoot of last year. So there's so much to look forward to.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. And I know for us, every game is a conference game. There's no, sometimes you look at non-conference games as getting some guys in there that might not play, or, some games you don't really have the energy on the bench. But every single game we play this year, we're going to be fighting for a playoff spot. And there's only 4 teams making the playoffs for us in the MAC, and there's 11 teams playing for it. So it's going to be a dogfight every game, and I think we're really looking forward to that.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a great season for sure. So obviously being a Mass guy, there's a big history of baseball here in Massachusetts with the Cape Cod League, the Red Sox, obviously the NECBL, yeah. So like, what was it like growing up, like from Little League to now, like in that type of environment?
Oh, it's great. I remember my first time walking in the Fenway, and you guys can probably say the same. You kind of walk up the concourse, and this big stadium opens up in front of you, and there's really nothing like it. My dad would take me to those, and even Cape Cod games. A couple of my buddies, their grandparents have houses down on the Cape, so we go to the beach during the day, and then always finish at a Cape Cod game at night. And it's pretty special. It's a really special place. My high school gym teacher, Coach P, is actually an assistant coach for Harwich and has been for 16 years now. So I used to hang out in his office, and he would tell me about guys, and 5 years later they're playing in the majors. So it's pretty cool. Definitely a great history of ball in Mass.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah, the Cape League is something that anybody growing up in the general New England area has to get themselves out to a game, because that environment is pretty special.
It is. It's incredible.
And obviously wanting to play in it, I assume. Well, most college guys, that's their dream.
Yeah, that's the gold standard for sure. So I know we've got a couple guys going there, which is just a great opportunity for them, and get our school out there, get Fairfield kind of on that stage, and show that we can play with those guys. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, if you guys do what you're planning on this season, no reason that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Can you a little bit more about the whole growing up thing? Who are your role models or your favorite pitchers to watch? Or I know you were 2A in high school, so even a hitter that you like to watch, just guys that you might see like similar mechanics to. And obviously there's plenty of guys you ran into at Cressy as well, I'm sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, my biggest role model is my dad. First of all, he pitched in college, and he obviously similar build as me. He was a big righty, and he taught me my mechanics. He could watch me in a game, and you're doing this wrong, this wrong, this wrong, and I'm like, crap, he's right. I don't know how he does it. He doesn't even have to look, and he knows. So he was my biggest inspiration. But even watching guys like Kurt Schilling, I know when he was with the Red Sox and what he was able to do in the postseason, that's definitely a guy that even now I'll look back on. Or Roger Clemens. I actually had the opportunity to pitch with Clemens in a charity game a couple years back. So I was able to talk with him, and obviously the Rocket, big righty, and was able to have a lot of success throwing his fastball. So a lot of guys that I kind of model and will watch and try and pick up different things and try and be more efficient with my deliveries. So there's just a couple for me.
Yeah, I mean, I know that video that I put out, Coach Courier said you look like Nolan Ryan, so I'm sure that's a great compliment.
might need a couple more ticks on that fastball, but I'm getting.
Yeah, that's not a bad comp. I'd be happy with that one.
So you said your dad played he pitched at Providence, right? So growing up, was he like your pitching coach, or would he just critique you from the stands?
No, he was like my pitching coach. So he would get home from work and he'd sit on a bucket and just have me throw to him in the driveway. I'd stand parallel with the basketball hoop. He'd go to the end of the driveway, set up the bucket, and we did that for 10, 12 years. First time I've actually ever seen my own pitching coach was this winter. First time ever. So I actually worked with the pitching coach up at Cressy this winter, worked on some things. But yeah, for 12, I guess 14 years, he was the guy. So I owe a lot of what I've done to him. I tell that to everyone. I got to give him the credit first, because without him, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, I'm sure it's great to have that in-house.
Yeah, it's nice. And just, he knows what I'm thinking all the time, and he's the one that knows me best. So he can pick things out like that, and he's pretty special.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So thank you for coming on. That was great to hear about the perspective of obviously the transition and then college and then COVID. There was a lot to happen since you've been to college, for sure.
Yeah. It's definitely been an interesting 3 years so far. Well, hopefully we just have an ordinary year and a half left. That's what I'm hoping for.
That's the hope. That's the hope. Exactly.
No lack of excitement.
So thank you for coming on, and I'm sure, I know I'll see you later, but it was a great talk.
No, I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me. And this was fun. This is a lot of fun just being able to talk to you guys.
Yeah, it was awesome. And hopefully maybe we see you in a postseason matchup. Can't wait.
Hunter, we play you guys in a regional or something. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
That'd be exciting.
Yep.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much, Jake. That was awesome.
Yeah. Thanks. I appreciate it. Colby, I'll probably see you later.
Yeah, I might come film your lift. So.
Wait. Still get big.
Yeah.
All right. See you guys. Thanks for having me on.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, Colby,
That's
like
good.
we just said, he gave us a great perspective. There's so much to take away from that. And it's just cool hearing from the mindset of guys that, we can pretend what it's like to be in their positions as managers, but at the end of the day, no one really knows what's going on in the head of an athlete other than the athlete. So anytime you can hear what they have to think, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I'd say obviously I'm around him every day. I just filmed his pen. I just saw what he puts more work than I've seen a lot of guys put work into. And you don't get that far in baseball without putting in that type of work. Absolutely. So it's awesome to just hear the perspective.
Yeah. And, we hear different stories of with COVID. Some guys, it was a blessing, and some guys, it was a curse. I mean, obviously nobody wanted it to happen, but the fact that it coincided with an injury keeping him out for a while and he was able to rehab, it does work out nice for him that now he can come back in full force and hopefully have a great campaign for you guys this year.
Yeah, and I will say, I mean, the first thing he said when I brought up COVID was he thought about his buddies who weren't going to play baseball again, because it's not like they're getting drafted. And I think that speaks, like I said, he looked like a natural born leader when I first met him, and when he took me under his wing and just taught me the ropes of Fairfield baseball. And I think that speaks exactly to what he is. Like, he wasn't thinking about himself in that moment. He's thinking about the guys on the team who weren't going to play baseball again.
And that's why these guys are the best players, when they have that mindset of the team and not caring about themselves. That's really what matters the most. And obviously it makes a lot of sense why he was named a captain this year.
Yeah, no, I mean, you don't get named a captain in junior year for no reason when there's seniors and grad students on the team. Like, that's a big honor. And obviously he carries it in high standard, but I think it's even bigger than any of us realize.
Absolutely. And it's always nice when they can carry the torch that the guys before him handed off. And the funny part too is when you think about how he was mentioning coming out of high school, the transition being difficult in fall ball, it's got to be a very weird situation going up against your teammates, because these are all guys that in a few months you're going to be rooting like hell for. But fall ball is competitive. There are cuts at the end of the season usually. So it's got to be a tough situation, but it's good to see that he had some help getting through it, and now he's passing that along.
Yeah, I mean, I personally put him as the number 2 starter on our team. That's how good he has become since COVID. Like, he throws about, his fastball is like 91, 92. He hit 92.9 in the fall, which is, I mean, we count that as 93 because we gotta. But his cutter, he doesn't give himself enough credit. That thing moves like a slider, but somehow looks like it's insane. And he's developed his curveball right on time, and his changeup's still getting there, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, having a pitch like a cutter like that is really what puts guys over the top. I mean, to get into college, you have to have those 2 good pitches, the fastball and the breaking ball, but having a cutter like that sets you apart. It's just absolutely filthy if you can harness it right, and it seems like he's definitely on that track right now.
Yeah, I'd say the difference, so from high school to college, it's 2 master pitches to 3 master pitches. And then the difference between a good college pitcher and a great college pitcher is the 3 or 4. And he's developing that 4th.
Definitely. It's great to see.
Yeah, and he's a big guy. Go ahead.
You're good.
No, he's a big guy too. Like you'll the video we put out, that one from behind, he takes up the entire screen. Like, it's not like he said he's 240. He looks bigger than that in the video because that's just how he's built.
Yeah, and that's intimidating staying in the box for, especially when a coach compares you to Nolan Ryan. You don't hear that one every day.
No.
And changing the subject a little bit, it's always cool to hear those stories about your dad being your coach. Seems like he was really always there for him, and cliche or not, no one knows you better. So to be able to watch his mechanics grow from day one all the way to where he is today, it's pretty special.
Yeah, no, I mean, he said this year was the first winter he ever had his own pitching coach, obviously aside from the Fairfield pitching coach. But having your dad with you along that ride for that long, I know, like, at least with me, having my dad with me when I was pitching, like, that's a special time. But then to also have it where his dad was a college pitcher, like, there's a bond that's created there that you can't replicate.
Yeah, absolutely no better teacher than that. And it's pretty cool when someone was able to be in college and then pass it along to their son.
Yeah, I mean, that's the dream, right?
Absolutely. That is the American dream. Some people might have different definitions, but for us, it's passing baseball along to the next generation.
Exactly. And I mean, obviously I'm not a Red Sox fan, you are, but when he talked about the family experience, even I had that experience too. Like, you walk up, you see the field. That's a jaw-dropping moment. no matter who you're a fan of, Fenway's just that type of park. So it's cool to grow up for us and him. Obviously, it had a big impact.
Yeah, I mean, it's the cathedral of baseball, and it never gets old. It's always a special feeling, whether you're walking in there for the first time or for the 6,000th time. Every time you just get overwhelmed by that sense of history that's around you and people that have come before, and just how beautiful of a ballpark it is too. So yeah, that experience is something that a lot of people can relate to, but it's always special to be able to be in Fenway. And let's hope COVID allows us to be there this year. We'll see.
Yeah, no, I mean, I hope so, but if not, at least it's not the same on TV. I don't know what I'm saying.
I mean, it's great to be able to watch, but nothing replicates the experience of being in the ballpark.
And I mean, speaking of COVID, we have baseball this weekend for the first time in a long time. College baseball, at least. That's an exciting time.
I cannot wait. First college game since last March and all that went down there. So everybody's just desperate to get back on the field, and you're going to be seeing some crazy competition right out of the chute. We talked about it a little bit in the interview, but shout out to UConn baseball heading down to Virginia for this weekend. 3:00 on Friday is opening day. It will most likely be Ben Kasparius, who will be our Friday night starter, taking the mound for us, with a great lineup behind him. A few other guys coming in behind him. Joe Simeone, Jimmy Wong, Pat Gallagher, few names, and then super good depth with guys like Will Lucas or Devin Kirby that are capable of tossing a few innings. Kenny House has been here for quite a few years and always does an amazing job for us. So I'm super excited to watch those games. Virginia is, last checked, 16th ranked. So it will be a tough matchup, but everybody has said UConn's a very underrated team. So I'm very much excited to watch that one. Are there any games that stand out to you on the schedule that you'll be having your eyes on?
I mean, I'd say the Vandy game, just because they might be the only team in college baseball that has two legit aces. Like, I know there's other teams that have like aces per se, but they have two guys that could go top 1 and 2 in the draft. And I know
we've never seen that before.
We posted the picture of the interview that I forget who did it.
Pitching Ninja, I think it was.
Yeah, Pitching Ninja did it. And I mean, I watched it. Hearing Kumar talk about his buddy Leiter and his dad, who was an MLB pitcher, like, that's obviously he's the better pitcher, but talking about his co-ace in that way, where he's like, oh no, he's a stud. Like, obviously we all know that, but to hear it from the guy who's, I mean, if you think about it, they're basically competing, not competing, but they are competing.
Yeah.
So to hear him talk and not have a light about his co-ace is very cool. And I think that's going to be a special season for them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a guy that's always been a proponent of starting pitching carries you, just like we've seen in the majors with teams that have good starting pitching win the World Series. So even though Vandy's only coming in ranked 4th, I think those guys will definitely carry them throughout the year. And if all goes according to plan, that team is just going to be so special to watch. Taking on Wright State this weekend. So obviously baseball, any given day, you never know what happens, but looking like a good weekend ahead for Vandy boys.
And I'd say, I mean, they're on a revenge tour after that Michigan loss in 2019. Like, we all forget about that. They lost the World Series in 2019. They're looking for revenge.
Yeah. Tim Corbin is an amazing coach. Always does such a good job developing that team. So, of course, they will be out for blood. It's funny, we talked a little bit about in the other episode, but Michigan is not ranked at the moment. So it's kind of crazy to see that downfall from the top of the world a few years back, only 2 years back, actually. We didn't have much college ball last year, but the little bit Michigan had last year, UConn handled them pretty well. So you have to wonder where that played into their rankings, along with Jeff Criswell being drafted. He was their horse throughout the College World Series run. So I'm sure Michigan will make an impact and get back in, but it's surprising nonetheless to not see them ranked out of the chute here.
Yeah, and I'd say at least schedule-wise, the best game looks like the Miami-Florida game because, I mean, those are two top 25 teams. Florida number 1, obviously. They're insane. We know that. I mean, I see all their posts on social media. Those guys look ready. Miami also, I mean, you can't just forget about a 21st ranked team. They could do anything. It's baseball, like we said. Wright State could upset Vandy. That means Miami could absolutely upset Florida.
Yeah, no doubt. You took the words right out of my mouth too. That's where I was about to go. Be catching that one on the SEC network this weekend. But yeah, Battle of the Titans there. Two really good teams. Florida coming in number 1 right now. So even despite losing some guys to the draft year in and year out, just about every sport, Florida finds a way to get it done. And high hopes for that program coming in first ranked.
Yeah, I have to agree. UCLA too against San Francisco. UCLA and Florida, I think, are 1A, 1B. If I had to put it, I think it's just comes down to the SEC bias, personally.
Mm-hmm. No, you're right. That is something that stands out in every sport.
Yeah, no, it's a thing. You can't argue it. It's definitely a thing. Yeah, UVA, UConn, you said that's obviously going to be a great series. Obviously, we're rooting for UConn. Virginia looks good this year. I think they're ranked a little low, personally. I think they should be like 11-ish. But we'll see after. If they handle UConn, which I hope doesn't happen, they should be in the top 10.
Yeah, that'll be a big test for both of these teams. Either Virginia can absolutely climb very high in the rankings, or UConn can be a sleeper team and maybe crawl into the rankings at some point. A lot of people have said it's a possibility. So there's a lot to watch from early on. Definitely no easing into the season with a competition like this right out of the gate that'll have long-lasting impacts throughout the season. Another one I'll have my eye on is Louisville taking on Bellarmine. Another one 3 p.m. on Friday. Seems like all the good games are happening then. So I'll have to get the multiple boxes going to be able to watch everybody. But Louisville, once again, as we've said before, year in and year out, that team's always ranked very highly. Coming in at 5 this year. Yeah, just something else we'll be wanting to keep an eye on.
And I also would say the LSU Air Force game, because like Fairfield's projected to face Texas Tech in the regionals, UConn's projected to face LSU in Louisiana. So, I mean, you got to watch out. Got to keep an eye on them.
Yeah. And while we're staying local up north, there's Northeastern, Wake Forest, Wake at 17. Northeastern's developed some good players over the years, so you can never sleep on them. Another one that we'll want to watch. And NC State at 13. They're also in that 3 o'clock window. So yeah, I mean, it's really it's an amazing slate for our first taste of college baseball in almost a year now. So there is no shortage of excitement that we're going to have jumping right into it.
Yeah, and I'd also like to shout out the Arizona Ball State game, Arizona 22nd. Ball State's videographer is also their starting catcher. So I think like he posts on TikTok all the time. I think that's awesome. That just is cool to me.
It is. Some of these TikTok vlogs that guys do, it's pretty fun to watch. I'll shout out Kieran Devaney and Ryan Hyde here at UConn. They do some pretty cool stuff on TikTok if anybody listening wants to go check that out. But yeah, anytime you can be a videographer and a catcher, combining those roles, that's not bad. Not bad.
You know, I'd have to say, like, I mean, personally, I take some of the ideas he uses, put them right into the Fairfield videos. Also, check out Stags_baseball for all my videos.
Absolutely. Hey, there's nothing wrong with that, though. A lot of these big entrepreneurs have said the best way to learn is to take bits and pieces of good stuff that you've seen from other people. So I respect that strategy very much.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So it will certainly be an exciting weekend. I know that I'll be watching college baseball 24/7 here in my quarantine. There's nothing better to do. I'm stuck in here until March 3rd. So hopefully by then I can get back out to helping the Huskies and doing what we do best.
Yeah, no, sucks that you're there for so long, but I mean, at least you get to watch some college baseball.
Yeah. And everybody knows this is a risk. This is college these days. It is something that we'll have to keep an eye on throughout the season because we obviously want to get through more than the X number of games it was last year. Some teams 15, some teams I think Jake said 6 for you guys.
11. We put 11.
Oh, my bad. Okay.
We weren't good though.
Yeah, it was a tough situation, but yeah, everybody's got to wear their masks and make sure they follow the guidelines so we can get through a nice season. You've looked at other sports. There's been some speed bumps, no doubt, for basketball and hockey. So hopefully the baseball guys have all learned from those experiences and we can stay healthy and avoid too many interruptions.
And keep going.
No, I was just going to say it's looking like could be bubble situations for regionals and College World Series. So,
which I mean is basically what we're doing now anyway. Like all the guys are on campus. We're not really leaving campus much. So it's basically that's why I think college baseball will have more success than even the MLB. Because we're not in a bubble, but like there's not much to do anyway. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah. I mean, as long as everybody does what they're supposed to, it shouldn't be a problem.
And I'd say like these guys that like Jake and these guys, they care. Like they're not going to just disobey the rules just because like they want their season.
Yeah. It's always important. And guys like him as a captain will be passing that along to everybody else. I mean, you never know. There's always some people mixed in that could do something irresponsible. But for the most part, you have to be very smart to be a college baseball player. So hopefully everybody does what they need to.
Yeah, I agree.
Did you have anything else to add on today's show?
I mean, so next week we'll definitely recap this weekend's college baseball for sure because it's going to be an exciting weekend. We'll particularly focus on Vandy and then UConn, UVA because those are obviously our games to watch. And then we'll also, we'll keep the MLB going a little bit. We'll talk because pitchers and catchers are reporting this week. Players
yes,
for some teams. Yeah, happy truck day, guys. Players are next week for the most part, I think. So I know usually I went to Giant spring training almost every year until last year. So I'm missing it. It's okay. I'm not like too upset just because they suck. But like, I mean, obviously I got to go into the clubhouse with Buster Posey last time I went, which was awesome.
That's great.
So like those types of experiences I'll miss, but it's spring training. If we can if I don't go to spring training so I can go to baseball games, I'm happy.
Yeah, exactly. I second that. Yeah, it's this time of the year that we live and breathe on every tweet and every picture and video sent out by our team's beat reporters on Twitter. At least I know I do. You'll sit there and watch a guy playing catch on loop just a couple times because it's those sights and sound of baseball that you've been waiting all off season for. And we've had it at college, which is great that we have that experience. But not as many people are as lucky as we are to have these roles. So just seeing any baseball is beautiful, especially after what we've gone through this year.
I agree. It's going to be fun, hopefully.
Yeah, and MLB, there were some speed bumps early on. MLB made it through the 60-game season last year without too many interruptions after the first few weeks. So as long as everything goes according to plan, we should have a great season of baseball on tap. And a lot of teams have discussed they might have, 25% capacity per se. So catch us at the ballpark.
That's fans.
If
that's fans. Gotta look positive.
Yes. As people on Twitter have liked to say, stay positive, test negative. That's a mantra that I'm taking throughout this time of the year.
I like that mantra.
So, all right, guys, that's it for today's show. We hope you enjoyed the interview with Jake Noviello. I know that it was a great experience for us, and it was really insightful. As Colby said, we're looking forward to a great show next week of talking more college baseball, getting into the MLB a little bit. We'll have plenty more guests for you coming throughout the season.
Yeah.
So
I'd say the week after we'll bring back up the guests. Maybe get a UConn guy here, switch off, alternate. Be fun.
I would love that. Once I'm out of prison here, I will definitely get the ball rolling on that because I would love to talk to some of our guys and get them involved. So Don't forget, if you have anything, anybody out there that's listening to the show, send us a tweet at Beyond the Diapod or DM us on Instagram at Beyond the Diamond Podcast. Spread the word to your friends. And if you're a college guy out there watching this and you want to come on the show, reach out to us. We'd love to have you. We're very open-minded people. So we'll see you next time here on Beyond the Diamond, and thanks for listening, everybody.
Thank you. All right.